So we have come to another section which is more interactive, and I really look forward to this. In fact, to get the ball rolling, I did a lot of analysis for the past few days to come up with a series of questions to get the ball rolling. What are the questions I want to ask these three managing directors and three distinguished leaders, senior VPs, what innovation is all about? So I went to Google. That's the best way of finding information, and I typed in best questions in the world about innovation. And guess what? There are more than 300 questions. So I just randomly picked, but I picked with a purpose, because three of them comes from three different areas of expertise. And these questions are for them. This is a panel session where the the title is Leadership's Role to Nurture Innovation. And we have three distinguished guests today, leaders in alphabetical order, from Crest, Dell, and Motorola. The first leader I'd like to invite on stage and join me on this beautiful sofa chair here with some water and candies, just to keep them calm. The first one is the Chief Executive Officer at Collaborative Research in Engineering, Science and Technology from Crest, Mr. Jeffrey Ibrahim. Welcome, sir. And next one. In 1997, he joined Dell. In 1997 also is a year where Hong Kong was handed over back to China. But Tom decided not to go to China or Hong Kong, but joined Dell instead. And as a Senior Vice President for Global Service Part, he's responsible for service parts life cycle support in over 160 countries, which includes planning, procurement, distribution, repair, inventory management. And he's also having a huge organization reporting to him at Dell EMC that continue to look into innovation ways and innovative ways on service offerings, support customer offerings, ranging for DePaul and next business day. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Tom Marr, Senior VP. And Tom is also a fan of Star Wars. But before that, I would like to say a few words about Mr. Jeffrey. Mr. Jeffrey is 28 years. Over 28 years, isn't it? Not 20 years, no, not 28 years old, but... Oh, you're 20, okay. So AJ Jeffrey has more than 28 years of working experience with extensive knowledge. I can't wait to drill more stuff from you. He has management consulting, venture financing experience across a broad range of industries, including government, financial services, oil and gas, transportation, education, and telecommunication. Man, this sounds like my whole portfolio of sales in Malaysia. He's currently providing strategies in tactical operation, leadership to meet challenging startup, turnaround, and high growth ventures. So ladies and gentlemen, that CEO from Crest, Jeffrey. The next leader I invite on stage is Dr. Hari Narayanan, Managing Director of Motorola Solutions Malaysia in Motorola. And Dr. Hari, well, this is his profile, right? Now I suddenly feel like I'm in the lecture hall. He has lectured in many areas of CIM, advanced manufacturing technologies, and supervised undergraduate mechanical engineering students on design projects, specialized in FEM structural and thermal simulation as applied electromechanical packaging. had even given talks and presented papers on Six Sigma quality, PDM, and cycle time drivers in product development. He has led a large R&D organization with multi-disciplines that specialize in design and development of wireless communication. Collaborate with design centers from different countries on projects and coming out with a lot of huge products and development strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Hari. So, my fellow innovators, are you ready with your questions? Yes. Alright, great. So later on, if you have any question, all you need to do is flash a light on the stage so I can see the light and I will call upon you. I also get a help from some of my friends here to bring down a microphone so that you can actually ask your question. And of course, before that, these are my most favorite question I'm going to ask to get the ball rolling. Good morning. Yeah, still morning. Lunch is not served yet. But the danger part is that we're between lunch. So we're making a lot of people very angry, and angry people is not nice to be with. So for the next 20 to 30 minutes, there are some questions that I would like to know more about innovation. And the first one maybe I can ask is, it's not maybe, I actually target who to answer this question. And of course, first one is Jeffrey. As a CEO of CRES, as a leader in a company, an organization, how do you prepare for innovation?
Okay, very broad question. So let me say that I guess I don't know how many people in the audience already know CRES, because I realize we talked about CRES a few times, but not everybody, I'm assuming, already knows about CRES. Anybody who knows CRES, can you please put up your hands? Okay, there's quite a number of people. So maybe I'll just spend a couple of minutes just to explain what CRES is. CRES, I guess the easiest way to describe us, we're actually a non-profit organization. Okay, we were set up by the industry, which is very unique in its own self. Okay, so the industry, actually the electronics industry with its rich 40 years of history, basically has been going from success to success. But they found that, really we should come together, not just as an industry, but we should collaborate more with government and academia, because there's lots of opportunities there, and nobody seems to be organizing people together. So they actually approached government to say, let's formulate CRES. It's like a joint venture. It's a joint venture where the government will fund some of the projects that is important to the country and that will benefit the community at large. But the community must also give back. So they must also contribute. So whether it is through, providing the engineers or IP and so on, and we'll find some way to get a win-win situation. So there in itself is an answer to that question, I guess. It's the very heart of what CRES is. CRES basically, every day when you wake up, every single employee of CRES needs to be passionate and innovative, basically. And we're a startup organization. When we started out 5 years ago, there was nothing written on the wall. And we just started engaging, and we started talking to everybody to say, what is it that you want? And let's formulate a journey together, and let's try to benefit along the way. So it's really at the heart. You got to have passionate people. The employees is all about. I guess I'm the orchestrator, but it's all about the employees, and it's about giving them the common vision, but essentially, like all the previous speakers have, giving them the common vision, but empowering them to go and innovate and create and bring that value into the marketplace.
Okay, thank you very much. So basically, it's more to understanding where CRES comes from. It started as an NGO, right? And it's all about giving back to the community. rather than just taking. And I believe in Crest, there are a lot of Docker keys around, where every morning they wake up, they go to Crest, and the first thing they tap with their fingerprint and go into the office is passion-driven. The passion that drives them back to work and continue to be innovative. And where as a CEO, as a leader, he's giving empowerment back to the employees to continue to innovate and bring better than for the future. And ladies and gentlemen, that's Crest. Let's give you another round of applause. The next question I have is for Tom. Innovation is a concept, a dream, an idea, as what I heard this morning. It's like making changes. But as a leader, we always have investment, and every investment counts for the ROI or KPI. So how do we really truly measure innovation? Do we have a measurement for innovation? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd rephrase it a little bit. I think innovation is the result of a dream, right? And I think to your point, Christopher, there's lots of great ideas and more than you can afford to actually go implement.
That's
Right? So for us, I would not say that we have a metric that would tell you are we successful with innovation. What we look at more is how many ideas do we get. So going off the preparation piece, preparing for anything is practice, right? You have to have a flexible, open mind, and you've got to practice. So when you're actually there for the moment of the game, you're ready to execute. You are prepared. So for us, we have lots of innovation summits. We're having an innovation challenge tomorrow inside of Dell. We have a global one with our partners. We attend our partners' innovation summits and challenges, and we've now started to even invest in them. So by doing all that, we really look at it more as what are the ideas we're bringing to the table? Because we think quantity helps, right? But in the end, you can't make the right decision if you don't know what problems you're trying to solve. There was a quote earlier today around you have to look to see what the problems are, right? And if you can find a solution to a problem, that's great. When you see a problem that nobody else even sees as a problem, to me that's a new business opportunity. You get a startup, right? You Uber it and you retire a billionaire. But for us, we need to know which of the problems are the ones that require a solution. And it always comes back to what do our customers need from us. Even in the aftermarket supply chain, where we are not always directly customer facing, we're looking at all these ideas, be they internal from our organizations, from our employees, or external from our partners, or even coming from our customers. We always look at that solving a problem that matters. And there's a lot that you just go implement. You just go do. It's a process change. It's either going to be process, technology, or people. And we go solve them. But in the end, you got to prioritize those limited funds when it comes to technology and decide which ones are going to benefit the customer and the overall company the most.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. So a lot of people misunderstood that innovation or any projects in the company needs to come with a KPI. So that's why I chose this question, just to clarification from a leader, that not everything is KPI. It's about the result as well.
Well, I would add, Christopher, so end of the day, it has to be solving a problem. Yes. So when I talk with my boss about business transformation, it goes back to things that in my world, am I delivering a quality product to my customers? If I'm driving innovation and I'm not improving my success to SLA or reducing dead on arrival or repeat dispatches or we call it C&D, when we ship out a part and it was not used, right? If we're not doing things to eliminate waste, which is measurable, then our innovation has no value. Now it depends on the department. It could be revenue, could be margin, could be uptime for the customer, whatever the case may be. But in our world, the ultimate success measurements for our customers are equal to what should be driving the innovation.
That's right. So the whole entire thing is, at the end of the day, is the results. That either you touch a process, people, or technology. And that is a super insight that what innovation can do for us. Of course, it all ties to results. And results by solving problems, that's where your KPI comes in as well.
But now we can start to measure how many gold badges we give out.
Exactly.
Because I'm loving that one.
Yes, I think the whole tables there are all gold badges. Alright, thank you very much, Phong. Let's give it a round of applause. Oh, Dr. Hari, I have this question which is very interesting, which is what is or could be a destructive innovation? I repeat, what is or could be a destructive innovation? And if we detect it as a leader or as an innovator, when do we call it a rain check? When do we put a stop to this?
Okay. You know, as I was looking at some of the presentations, I mean, it comes back to what you just talked. I'm not sure, is it destructive or disruptive? Disruptive, okay. So let me go back and probably describe to you how we look at innovation. At the end of it, like what Wimmy said, it's really the only way to win. Or is it Steve Jobs said that. And I also talk about the fact that, you know, if you want to really see sustained growth, you got to innovate and so forth. So this is not, I don't think it's confidential, so I can describe the way the strategies are described in Motorola. Typically, in order for you to go invest on something new, you got to make money, all right? So you got to make sure that your core continues to be strong. Dell will have a core, Motorola will have a core, IHOs will have a core. Every company has got a core. But if you continue to invest in your core, you will not grow. In the sense that maybe you'll grow 1% or 2%, but that's not what our shareholders will be looking for. All right? So we need to step into what we call the adjacencies. A lot of the companies, like when I was, observing what Pang was presenting with me, they're looking at adjacencies. You know, when Dell now talk about Dell Technologies or IQT and so forth, you're really looking at adjacencies. I.e., you're not going too far into an unknown, because the further you go from the core to the unknown, the risk is higher. But the success could be high too, but that's a measured approach that you would take in terms of investment. So we need to look at the adjacencies. Beyond the adjacencies, you cannot be sitting just looking at the core and the adjacencies. You still have to invest that single-digit money into what we call the future. The future, if you want to call it. So really, that's a strategy that Motorola kind of focuses on. Today, Motorola is called Motorola Solutions, and I think a lot of us are looking at solutions. It's simply because we need to go beyond the core of selling boxes and devices into providing devices plus solutions, and that's the adjacency that we're going to. So when you look at, over the years, 90 years of presence, Motorola, 2018 I think it's 90 years, we have gone through a lot of changes. We have made a lot of mistakes over the past 20, 30 years. Think about, number one, in phone business, we're gone, you know. But today we are very singularly focused on what we're good at in that sense. So our approach to innovation is, of course, looking at incremental innovations that will continue to strengthen the core, and look at adjacencies. And most of the time, if I look at some of the disruptive areas that we're working on, it's just that the customer don't know what they want at times. So what we do, I think, better than most of our competition, is we have about 8 years of experience working with our customer base. So we now, I think we've gone beyond the tradition of sitting down to customers and says, what are your requirements? Those is a traditional approach. I think what we do today better is in terms of observing the workflow of our customers. Like what Key was saying, she wasn't saying, here's the requirement how to fix this ergo, for example. She was observing. So we got to get into more of the observation of the workflow, observation of how people basically walk through their lives or work and so forth, and identify opportunities there. All right. So those are a couple of things that we do. Now, how do you put a stop to it? To be honest with you, today, although there are gold badges and so forth, it's a lot more difficult in Motorola to get a patent than ever before. I'll tell you, when I joined Motorola 20 odd years ago, we wanted to be number one in terms of number of patents. Okay. You know, we wanted to beat the IBM those days. But today, we don't patent for the sake of patenting. If we don't see a landing zone in a product or a solution, it could be the most innovative or a highly, novel kind of approach. We will not patent it. All right. So it's a lot more difficult. So we got to find the landing zone and so forth. If we don't find a landing zone, we will stop in terms of doing that. And one of the things, innovation is not just patents. We look at coming up with innovative solutions to our customers. We do have our innovation kind of yearly innovation showcase days. And what we do now is, across the world, one of the things we've seen is that we will be doing something here, and our friends in Florida will be doing something similar. And we want to avoid the duplication of efforts by putting them to collaborate. And we will pick and choose those areas that there's a bunch of people that look at it and say, what are the projects that we should showcase in the Innovation Showcase Day? And we'll bring the business leaders to determine whether there are landing zones. So those are a couple of areas, a couple of approaches that we use in order to make sure that we want to go ahead or not with some of those disruptive technologies.
That's great. So in other words, is that you do have a management, or you do have a team of people who looks at between the quality and quantity,
yes,
right, to maintain and ensure that there is a landing zone, and you decide from there.
I think more and more, I think a lot of the speakers talked about it. The end of it is really, when you talked about Googling innovation, and one of the famous quotes that one of my ex-boss said is, innovation is really providing the solutions to our customers. All right, they may not even know about that. So we got to make sure that we're sharpening our focus and make sure there are landing zones for these innovative solutions, so that at the end of it, it makes a difference out there.
Yeah, that's right. That's great. So in other words, is that failures is just normal when we make changes, and when it comes to ideas, failures is always there. But if we fail, that is where the success will follow by. Right? That's great. Tom and Jeffrey, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, there must be some kind of, you were saying disruption. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, innovation disrupts. And there must be some kind of disruption in order for innovation to appear and to work. And I think it is our, observation of how it can be applied to be useful and so on. Yeah. So I completely, by the way, I just wanted to say Dr. Hari is in our board in CREST. We have a majority of our representatives in the board comes from industry, and we have the privilege of having Dr. Hari in our board. So always depth of experience is really helping us.
That's great. All right. It's like the Captain Picard in the Star Trek Enterprise. Okay. Tom, anything to add?
I agree with everything said. Clearly, innovation disrupts, right? But you want to focus it and have the landing place to know what is it you're trying to disrupt. I love the comments that I think there's been a long time where innovating for the sake of innovating, filing patents for the sake of filing patents, which is a metric that adds no value whatsoever unless it solves a customer problem. If it doesn't work out there, then it's not relevant, right? So I think that's a great message to take to all of our teams, right? So that when they're focusing, they're focusing on what really matters. There's a problem that if we solve that problem, we can generate goodwill, a legacy of good as we showed earlier, or make our customers' lives better and easier.
All right, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give the three gentlemen another round of applause. Okay, I'm gonna stop on my list of questions. I'm gonna open the questions now to the floor. Okay, this is the part where I want to see the flashlight. If not, then you're looking for the flashlight somewhere, anywhere. Any questions, guys? Come on. All right. Yes, we have a gentleman there.
Yeah, I would like to pose this question to Tom. We have heard CH from Motorola share with us the process, or innovation process, or innovation culture, how they promote the innovation culture in Motorola. What about Dell? Can you share with us how Dell promote the innovation culture, or do you have something very structured way to promote the innovation?
Sure, and I would start by saying driving a culture of innovation is more important than anything else. Because once you do that, as you saw in the earlier presentation, then you have 140,000 idea makers. And it takes work, right? What do we say? 21 days to build a good habit. So I'll talk about my organization specifically and how we built that culture. And it never stops. It's not as if I'm not going to say we're great at it, and we always have to continuously improve. But we go back about a decade, we did not have a culture of innovation. And we had some false starts. You put some governance in place. You say, okay, everybody's got to do X amount of BPI projects or Six Sigma. And you get a whole lot of work for the sake of work so you can, fill out a scorecard. So what we decided a few years back, we said we need to make sure innovation is embedded inside of our supply chain organization. And it starts with people, right? So we realized that we had outsourced a significant amount of our day-to-day interactions. So that means we had to bring in our partners. So we had to come up with a process to encourage and enable the ideas to come forth. Because we're real good at coming up with ideas to go tell our partners to implement, but we realize it has to start from the bottom up. One of my favorite innovation stories, I think it's American Airlines, but it's been a long time, so I could be wrong. They were flying from Dallas to LA, LA to Dallas, back and forth. And the guy at the gas pump in Dallas was always just topping off the gas tank. And he realized that the planes were going back to LA, to Los Angeles, where they'd fill up the gas tank. Well, if you know anything about the U.S., Texas gas is cheap. California, it's very expensive. So he just said, hey, by the way, why don't you, switch this around? Let me do the majority of the filling up, and they can just top it off. And he saved the company tens of millions of dollars. Because if you don't have the people who are touching the work each and every single day, part of it, then your innovation is probably, as was said earlier, if you're a senior executive, you got a C in your title, you probably don't have a gold badge, right? You add value, hopefully in other ways, but you're probably not doing the real solutions that are going to disrupt the industry or the process. So we needed to get everybody in the organization feeling as if they could come forward with ideas, and we had to put it out to our partners. So we started to do innovation summits. We started to have innovation competitions. We started with just an annual one, and we would solicit about 30 ideas and go through a whole bunch of processes and make a big to-do over it. Now we do 80 different submissions every 6 months. We've expanded it to where we actually sponsor innovation competitions now with our partners. We hold both regional or global summits on this. And what we started to do recently, because you have to constantly keep it changing, is we now sit with our partners and industries, which is Crest is one we're going to start to deal with, but others that we've been with Gartner, DHL's Innovation Organization, UPS is some of our big partners, as well as universities, University of Limerick and Arizona State, where we sit either on their supply chain boards or in things like Internet Edge at Arizona State, where you get the ideas. And now you're working with a broad range of organizations and academic institutions. So it starts to become part of the daily life of being in the Global Service Parts Organization. And now where we're at is we've got to start doing training in a different way. We started to hire in a new way, All right, we're hiring PhDs for the first time in my organization, data scientists. We're no longer, we realize, we're not picking and packing parts, right? That's not the supply chain of the future. A fully digitized supply chain requires different talent. So to sum it up, I would say you've got to acquire talent, you have to train talent, you've got to reward the innovation, and you have to have platforms to bring those ideas forward. And when you have innovation summits and challenges, the competitions, it tends to generate what I've seen, the most change in an organization, so that the culture starts to say, wow, innovation matters because somebody got a big trophy. It's recognition, right? And people will go strive towards what will drive recognition. And I love the concept of the visibility a different badge would give. I think that matters to people. But the biggest thing we worry about is if you don't implement some of those ideas, the culture will die. You have to take some of them forward. And that's the job to the executives. Remove the roadblocks so we can actually implement a solution, because then everybody sees it, and success breeds success. So hopefully that gave you at least a bit of an answer.
Thank you very much. Basically, Tom has just answered the rest of my questions that I'm about to ask. So it actually concurs with what Wimi is saying. It's all about talents, grabbing the talents, training them, and recognizing them. So yes, I believe Motorola is doing that, Dell is doing that, Christ is doing it, every company is doing that as well. So any other questions I have from, yes, another question there. Okay, so.
Yeah, very good afternoon, dear panelists. My name is C.K. Tan from NationGate, Penang. My question to Dr. Hari. Knowing that you were from and have a very vast and diverse experience in the academic domain before you signed up with Motorola, which is a 90 years old company since its formation in 1928, if I'm not mistaken. So coming from a very different background, and now being MD of Motorola Solution Penang, maybe we'd like you to share with us how you have been doing, and especially what you are doing in this developing all this culture of innovation. Thank you.
Okay, so it's something that I wanted to share with this forum. It's just a story of, if I look back, the organization that I've been involved with, and by the way, I have been with Motorola for 26 years, the same organization. Maybe good or bad, I don't know, Tom. So, no. Leave it there, no regrets. So, I wanted to share with you in terms of, it's good that CH and Dr. Key presented in terms of, the journey that we've gone through, the success and so forth. And I'll tell you that the kind of success that we are seeing now is a bit recent, all right? We have over the years, and I just imagine Motorola Solutions, Motorola Penang has been there for about 40 odd years. And I was just explaining to, I think, Pang just now that it was recent, the fact that we were able to generate all these these high-achieving innovators and so forth. So I look back and say what happened and so forth, all right? Now, the other thing I talked about is patents for the sake of patents. That's not going to work anymore in that sense. One of the things that I have a personal crusade in terms of whatever organization that I run. I want to make sure that I'm the best of the best in whatever we do. I think someone mentioned the pillar, and I think, Tom, you mentioned about the various focus areas: technology, performance, people, and I also add what we call customer. In terms of customer leadership, people leadership, performance leadership, technology leadership, and so forth. So I'm kind of working with my senior leadership, set up these pillars, if you want to call it, and so forth. And I wanted to be the best of the best, not me, the organization, if you want to call it. So if you look at technology, and over the years, if you look at the organization that we've had, has been more of incremental development, supply chain, providing support to the various other sites and so forth. And I wanted to transform that in terms of how do we take control, how do we empower ourselves and be the solutions provider for our customers. So much so that, we are considered one of the best in terms of innovation and so forth. And that's when the focus started on innovation and so forth. I had a big problem because when you look at innovation, as I said, it's very simple to spell. It's a kind of a pain, you know what I mean, to drive innovation across the organization. So, being negative now, all right? But that's what it is, yeah? That's what it is. And I'll tell you that when you go to the supply chain vice president says, drive this thing, he will continue to drive yield improvements, delivery and so forth. When you go to the sales guys, they will drive in terms of increasing the top line and so forth. And how come we in the organization can't drive the innovation as top line? Right? Because people are more on the comfort zone, if you want to call it. Coming to work, getting things done, going through the incremental efforts and so forth. So, in my personal experience, it has to be, in my mind, when you want to drive innovation across the organization, it has to be initially top-down. It has to be. Leaders did the buzzword walk the talk, and I really mean that, walk the talk. And I'll give you a little segue in terms of something that I've been doing for the past 10 months. One of the things that Motorola is famous for is Six Sigma, and I'll admit it, that over the last 2 years, we had more customer complaints than ever before. But the good thing is customers staying with us because they've been with us for 8 years and we'll fix it. But for some reasons, we went down in terms of quality and so forth. And my boss said, hey, you got to drive this thing across the various centers and so forth, not just a Penang issue. And, I was talking to one of Dell managers and I said, very simple. You reinitiate, reinvigorate, redrive. Because everything, we just lost a little bit of the focus and the formula because we were driving efficiency, we were driving lean, and all the good stuff. And somehow along the way, the culture of premium quality got lost in some of the ways. So what I did all this good stuff, fantastic, within 6 to 8 months across the design centers and so forth. And I was just doing my PM summary with my boss, and they said, fantastic area and so forth. I said, not good enough. Because you can drive all of these things, but if the leaders don't walk the talk to support it, not just the leaders, the middle level managers, the frontline managers in my mind are the most dangerous managers at times because they work with the masses. They gotta walk the talk. They gotta ask the questions every day in terms of what are you doing about this quality. So let me go back to innovation. So we as leaders have to drive that from top down. We got to make sure that our middle levels and the senior leaders are committed to that. Next is that the frontline managers have to be committed to that and asking the questions on a daily basis or a weekly basis and so forth. So that's how we started driving in terms of the importance and significance of innovation and so forth over the last 5 to 6 years. Very important for us to do that. I mean, the other part of it is that we got to make sure we are creating the right environment. I think CH and Key talked about the recognition reward system and so forth. I think it's good. But one of the things that we got to make sure is that they are also exposed. In my mind, what they were talking about providing solutions to customers and so forth. They got to be exposed out there in terms of what are the opportunities. So create the environment. And I think someone mentioned that, well, the senior leadership has to be involved because they are the ones who fund it. I think CH mentioned it. I felt, well, I'm just in that is funded. No, I think it's yeah, the funding is important too, but you got to walk the talk across and consistently seek that. Now we have metrics and so forth, but besides the metrics, if I meet Key, for example, hey, what's going on? What are the kind of stuff that you do? So you got a sense of recognition, a sense of, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing. So in my mind, that soft approach, that qualitative approach across the organization has to happen, in order to make sure that we consistently and sustainably make sure innovation is percolating across the organization. I'll tell you one thing, although these guys provide good stuff, but for me, I'm still not happy because I see these as hotspots. You know, how do I make the hotspots bigger so that the entire organization has got this innovative culture that's pervasive? So it's a long story, but hopefully I've answered the question. All right? Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we have time for another question. Is there anyone with the clock? That's like that. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephen from Dell. Hopefully my question is still within the scope. So my question would be, I understand that, you know, like, for example, like Mr. Pang have mentioned that Dell do support in startups. And then there are quite a number of startups, for example, like Airbnb and then like Uber and so on, which is related to innovation, you know, to bring up a new generation of business that would generate revenue. And there are quite a number of companies which are aware that they are helping students in, like, for example, the young enterprise to cultivate the culture of innovation since their younger age. And then, you know, I'm thinking of like, is there any thoughts that you guys have been through, or is there any plan whereby MNCs and SMEs would come together to organize a workshop, for example, like a startup workshops to, you know, like giving back to the community? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's actually you know, right up our alley, in a sense that we're the reason why we, you know, the reason why we set up is to be the communal place for companies, be it established ones to struggling ones to startup ones, to come together and to have this dialogue, to say these are the things that I would like to do. But there is one condition if you come to press, is that first C in the company name, which is collaboration. So if you come to press, it's all about wanting to build something not for yourselves, but to be building it with others and to benefit others as well, in that sense. So we've got a small fund we're managing on behalf of government to fund research, collaborative research. Yeah, and we've got some areas of interest for people to look at, but we're not limiting it to those areas of interest. You can still come in with some wild ideas and say, hey, this will really benefit everybody. Come in, put in your application, and you know, if you need partners, we can also partner you up with a university, for example, who can work with you. That's another condition, by the way, is to work with a university together. But at the end of the day, we would like to meet up with companies who have ideas, good ideas, innovative ideas, to basically, we want to hear you out and we want to see how we can either co-fund it with somebody else and have universities working on those problems as well. I don't know if that helps. Yeah. Oh, by the way, the 6 areas that we have key interest in is that one is in the optoelectronics area, the LED, yeah, that's one. Second one is IoT, or what we call IoT/embedded systems. The third one is IC design and test and validation together. The fourth one is advanced materials. The fifth one is advanced manufacturing, which includes Industry 4.0. And the last one is drones and driverless vehicles. So those are the 6 what we've identified as core areas. We didn't actually come up with those 6, by the way. Is the industry representatives in press, which includes Motorola Solutions and Intel and AMD and so on. All our members got together and say these are the areas of interest, but we can change those areas of interest as we go, because it's really meant for developing the community. So come and talk to us.
All right, so that's the questions, and I would like to finalize one final question is that, most of you here are innovators, are from young professionals, from mature leaders, mature managers, and of course, most of you here are also career advancers. I'd like to maybe pass this mic across to three leaders here. What is the last message that we give to these young professionals and career advancers on the next step? What should they do the next step? What can they do when they walk out from this door? Some words of encouragement and wisdom. Maybe start from Hari.
I think I go back to what Vivian presented. First thing is the fact that I always talk to engineers. Just let me tell you, I always talk to the engineers, and I'll talk to them and say, what makes you come to work? All right? Are you here for the 9 to 5? All right. When you wake up, what are you thinking about? What's your mission for today, and so forth. So it's very, very important that when you go back, I think Vivian's point about unlearn, learn, unlearn, relearn is what it is. So at the end of it was, I talked about leadership and all the good stuff, and I always talk about taking the horse to the water and the damn thing doesn't want to drink. You beat the horse to the death, if you want to call it. So every one of you have to make sure that in we all want to grow, we all want to be successful, and all the good stuff. But you got to go back and make sure that you're willing to learn, you're willing to relearn, you're willing to unlearn certain things, and bring in new stuff to yourself. So I think that's the only message. If you look at innovation, take a little bit of, 15, 20% of whatever we've said, take it back and try to practice it.
Thank you very much. Tom, what do you think?
I'll start with the career advancement piece, because I'm passionate about one message there. You can spend all the time looking at what everybody else does and trying to come up with the next great idea, and that's wonderful. But you have to do your job very, very well. So I see so many people fail because they always want to do somebody else's job, or they always want to, get that promotion, which is not career advancement. Career advancement is developing your skill set so you can, as you said, learning, right? So that you can accomplish more and you can provide more. Don't lose sight of what is your day-to-day responsibilities. Do them exceptionally well. Then disrupt them, change them, expand on them. But if you don't do what you're hired to do, nothing else matters. Right? So you've got to take care of the fundamentals. The next steps, what I would advise all of you to do, you just spent 4 hours of your day, be 5 in the end, coming to this event. And you probably do this quite often, right? These are all, obviously, this is an exclusive event. People are invited to it because they're talented individuals. Take something back with you. The smartest person in the world can outwork 2, 3, 4 people, who knows? But an individual that takes information and shares it and helps others grow. And you don't have to take everything that was said today. I usually try to take 1 or 2 things and say, how do I go out there and use that information, but most importantly, share it? Because, just Dell alone is 140,000 plus people, and they're not all here. But they should all benefit from what occurred here, or any event you go to. Take it back. Right? What are the few things you can share with your team, with your manager, with peer groups of yours, so that they get the advantage of what you've learned today? And I've got probably 3 pages of notes. Right? So I'm going to be taking that back. And I want Bang Wee and Vivian and everybody who's here from Dell to do the same thing, because then it goes everywhere. And that's how you build the culture. So the next step is you're going to leave here and you're going to be an innovation leader. Right? Not a follower. What did Pong say? It's about we're going to lead the digital transformation, not be led by it. Right? So we have an opportunity, everybody here, to go be one of those leaders.
Okay, I guess for me, I would like to talk to the youth. Basically, I'm a father of 4 beautiful kids. And essentially, it's a personal thing. My time here in Crest is I just want to give our youth, I don't care how old you are, you're still young to me, you know? So I want to give our youth hope. Essentially hope. Because I've had the chance to travel a little bit with Talent Corp and a few others and meet Malaysians all over the world. And some of them are studying in some of the best, places in the world, and all of them brilliant. And sometimes they talk to us and they say, is there anything interesting to do in Malaysia? Is there anything interesting to do in Malaysia? Right? And I don't want to come back to Malaysia to, switch off or just be part of that small fish in a huge pond and not be able to contribute, not be able to stand up and be something in society. Okay? We're privileged with 40 years of history of having the multinationals here, but we've not done very much as Malaysians to do something for ourselves. I think we've basically been working for somebody for the longest time. But, Crest is about working with the best companies in the world. But it's also about helping the Malaysians stand up and look at opportunities and create for themselves a future that they deserve, success that they deserve. So this is what we want to talk to you about. If you come to us, we want to see how we can help. And don't look at Crest as being that 23 people based in the office. Crest is you. It's all about you and what is it that you want out of this industry, this vibrant industry that we're in. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, remember what Ashley mentioned? Eureka, right? It's all about you making success. So innovators, young innovators, mature innovators, and seasoned innovators, this is your opportunity. And of course, with these 3 gentlemen here has shared, they are executive here. Their role is to continue to support. Their role is to continue to walk the talk and help remove the roadblocks so that the solutions that you have can be implemented. At the end of the day, it's about the customer, it's about the people out there, it's about the community. And of course, it's the balance between quality and quantity, and instead of just patent for the sake of patent, but with quality patent, and ensure that there's a landing zone, and the landing zone is always the people out there, which is you and me, and them as well. So innovation is all about process, people, technology, and Dr. Hari even added in customer, right? So there you are, my friends, innovators. Continue to innovate, continue to come up with great ideas, and continue to dream. Because when you sleep, you dream. So never stop dreaming. Let's thank the 3 gentlemen here for their sharing. And thank you so much for all your questions.